recording in front.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tony Pfeiffer. I'm with the Mercy Health St. Luke's Family Medicine Residency Program that's located in Perrysburg, Ohio. And as we do the third Wednesday of each month, give a talk on a different medical topic. And today we're going to talk about preparing for winter. And some of us may say, well, I know everything there is to know, and you may very well do, but it's definitely a good time to review things, a little mental checklist. But there might be a couple of things that you may also say, I really didn't think about that. So we'll talk about some things pertaining to home. We'll talk about some things pertaining to personal health. And then we'll talk about some things pertaining to winter-related injuries. So first, let's talk about the home. As it says here on the handout, one of the very first things you want to do is check your your emergency supplies. I think before that, the very first thing we ought to do is make sure we're cognizant of what the weather is going to be like from time to time, because certainly there's going to be some things that creep up rather quickly. Sometimes we know that people who are reporting the weather, while they try their best, not always reliable. Sometimes things are a little bit more severe than what they anticipated or less severe, but just making sure that you've got things on hand, particularly food and medicine. With your medicines, making sure that you're aware of how many refills you have. Are you down to the last week of pills? And then all of a sudden you go to look at your pill bottle and it says no refill. Now you're having to call the doctor's office. You may not necessarily get a reply right away. You're having to call back, and now you're potentially without one of your important medications, and the weather front's moving in. So things like that. Another big thing is having your heating system at home checked by a professional. I recommend just trying to get somebody out yearly. Particularly if it's an older unit, just to make sure that everything's running well. People like to try and control the thermostat a little bit in terms of the internal temperature in the house, but making sure that you have it no lower than 65 degrees at night, because our body temperature as we sleep lowers. So we want to make sure that we don't run into issues of hyperthermia in that. If you're a person who runs your chimney, has a fireplace, making sure that you have that inspected if you plan to use it. I've personally been involved in a couple of fires related to fireplaces and a chimney having some buildup inside of it that caused a couple of fires. So not a pleasant thing to be part of. Particularly, we recently had fallback in terms of time. So we always know that when time goes ahead an hour or falls back an hour, to check our smoke detectors, make sure that we have the batteries, that they're properly working, but also making sure that we have a carbon monoxide detector in the home, because carbon monoxide is an odorless, deadly gas that certainly can cause a lot of problems. So we want to make sure we have that. So people are always trying to, save some money here and there. And some of the things you can do is close off an unused room. If you live in a bigger house, particularly an older house, if there's rooms that you don't use, cut the vents, close the drapes, put a draft dodger down or a blanket or a towel or something, just to make sure that cold air isn't coming out. Because what happens is, in your house, your thermostat could be located in a central room in the house, and that's kind of how everything is regulated. And if some of the draft is coming down toward that thermostat, it might kick it on a little bit more often and running your heater unnecessarily. The other thing is, some people like to use space heaters, and those are perfectly fine. They've certainly become more safe over time. However, they still do pose a safety risk, making sure that you don't have anything within 3 feet of them. Again, the basic things of checking to make sure that you don't have drafts around your windows. Some people like to put these little plastic things inside their outlets that are on exterior walls, because sometimes you can feel it and actually feel draft coming through. And the other big thing is just keeping lines of communication open. So hopefully somebody, if you live alone, somebody's calling you, or you're calling your friends that might live alone, you know, once a week, just kind of checking on things, checking on people, but also making sure that if you're using a mobile phone these days, which most people are, keeping it well charged so that in the event of the electricity being cut off, that you still are able to maintain lines of communication. For those people that still drive, we just want to make sure that they have proper maintenance. For me, the biggest things are having the right amount of gas, windshield wiper fluid, and proper tire pressure. Those are the big things, three things in terms of the actual maintenance of the vehicle, but also checking to know what the weather is before you go out, making sure that you have an ice scraper, and just taking your time. Certainly slowing speeds, and I think that the last point there is very important. Prioritizing your outings. You know, trying to do things on a better weather day if you need to go to the bank or the post office or the grocery store or something like that. But if the weather's really bad and you said, well, I'd like to kind of get together with lunch with one of my friends or something, you know, can you postpone something until a later time? Certainly, like I said, you know, listening to the weather, knowing the difference between a winter weather advisory, what a winter weather storm watch, and what a winter weather storm warning is. And as it says, they're planning for someone to do your snow and ice removal. I think I know that through the Lucas County Area Office on Aging, they have people that are set up to help older individuals do snow and ice removal. I'm not sure if it's done here in Wood County, but certainly, you know, trying to plan ahead, I always say it's better to prioritize or be proactive as opposed to reactive. So, and if you are getting out, common sense, making sure that you have proper, you know, shoes or boots on. If you are going somewhere nice and you want to wear heels or something like that, wear your boots for a short period of time till you get where you need to go, and then change your shoes, not trying to wear those types of things out and about. In terms of clothing, always layering is best, wearing lightweight, warm, dry clothes. Anything that you're wearing coat-wise should be water resistant. And it is very important to wear a hat. And when you wear a hat, covering your ears, because your nose, your lips, and your ears have some of the thinnest skin on the body. So that's why you see a lot of winter-related injuries pertaining to those things. And I know some people don't like to mess up their hair, but it's important to wear a hat and cover those ears because, as it says there, 40% of our body heat escapes through the top of our head. And then another thing that people that really don't think about, but if you're going to be outside for a little bit, maybe going to the lights before Christmas or some other type of outdoor event, wearing some type of sun protection factor, you know, at least 15. We talk about an SPF 30 and things like that during the summer to help us protect against the sun. But you have to remember that there's a lot of ultraviolet rays still out there. So if you're going to be out, you definitely need to protect your exposed skin and using sunscreen. In terms of health maintenance, the biggest take-home message for me is prevention. Making sure that you have your flu shot, making sure that you have your COVID vaccine or your booster. For older individuals, there's the pneumonia vaccine. And now for older individuals 65 and older, there's the RSV vaccine. I've been in the healthcare field for over 30 years, and I've always known RSV, which is a pulmonary related illness, was more related to younger children and babies. However, with everything else that's been going on, it has crept up the ages, and then it's now making older individuals very vulnerable. So if you're 65 and older, getting an RSV vaccine is something that your primary care physician should be explaining to you. You can always talk to your pharmacist at, wherever you get your medication filled, and certainly considering that as well.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
I know our youngest grandson just turned 6, and I know when he was born, my daughter asked us, we went and I thought we got DPT for whooping cough.
Right.
So so is RSV different?
Different strain. It's a different strain. Yes. So, and again, for younger children, the pediatrician should be working with the parents in terms of, making sure that their vaccines are up to date. Is this an individual who needs that type of vaccine? Maybe they have some other medical problems that need to be protected. For me, for older individuals, particularly individuals that have things like congestive heart failure or some type of pulmonary issues, I highly stress that they talk to their primary care physician or their pharmacist about getting that vaccine.
So the RSV, like I have an appointment coming up in, oh no, I don't. I have lab work coming up. But the RSV, you can just walk in and get.
You can walk into places like Meijer, Kroger, Walgreens, and I always encourage people like Meijer's. I know there's a questionnaire up front, and when you go online to schedule your appointment, they will ask you certain things, and then it'll let you know whether you qualify for that, and be able to get that as well. It's certainly something they can do just like the others.
Yeah. Okay. The multi vaccine, is that?
That's that.
Is that?
That's like.
No, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah. So
is that a one and done?
That's a one and done. That's for, and there's like 2 or 3 different ones that are out there. And again, which one you receive should be a conversation that you have with your primary care physician to know which one is right for you. One of them is a 20, one of them is a 23. That basically means this one protects against these 20 strains, this one protects against 23 strains. Okay. So it really depends on, again, your health history and your working relationship with your primary care physician. But, other common sense things, washing your hands, using sanitizer, being careful around people who are a sick contact. Right now in our medical office, probably 1/3 of the people are having to wear masks. There's a lot of COVID going around right now, a lot of COVID. And if you're an individual who has tested positive for COVID, the recommendations are to stay isolated for 5 days from the onset of when you started experiencing symptoms, and then wearing a mask for 5 days afterwards. Again, exercise helps to increase our immune system, not just things like running and lifting weights, but some of the things that they offer here at the Wood County Area Office on Aging, yoga, Tai Chi, some of the other aerobics, what have you, certainly will help your cause. But in the meantime, making sure that you stay well hydrated, not necessarily caffeine and alcohol, but water and low sugar juices, things like that. And when the sun's out, get out there and get some vitamin D. We live above the equator, where in Northwest Ohio, we're really not going to get much of that. But when it's out there, take advantage of it. And as I said before, not only by phone, but maybe in person, checking on your neighbors. Just a couple of things related to winter weather related injuries. First thing is frostbite. It mainly happens on the face, fingers, toes, where the blood is the where your blood flow is the least. But you're going to certainly experience a loss of feeling or color. As it says there, a white or grayish skin, it's going to be firm or waxy. But the one thing that is the take-home message related to frostbite is going to a warm room and soaking in warm water or using body heat to warm yourself. So if you are experiencing frostbite or something like on your fingers, you know, tucking them under your armpits or something like that, but do not massage them, do not use a heating pad, and do not run them under hot water, because those types of things will not only damage the skin, but damage the nerves. Hypothermia is when we experience a lower body temperature. One that is below 95 degrees is a medical emergency. So we want to make sure that we seek assistance for that. Signs here, and I'll just kind of scroll this down, hopefully, yes, is shivering, exhaustion, confusion, fumbling of hands. It almost looks like a stroke. You almost know when somebody is experiencing hypothermia. I've certainly seen it many times in my days of working in the ER. But again, making sure that you go to a warm room, and it has to be a slow warming process. You cannot look to expedite or quickly warm up the body, or that can be cause further damage as well. So again, just some common sense things. We look for people to have happy holidays, but we want them to have safe holidays. Some of this might have been a review, but hopefully a few things that you may not have just thought about moving into the winter months. And hopefully you have good, happy, healthy holidays, and we will see you in the new year. Thank you.